These messages we're getting are so cute.
Like what?
Someone just sent a big long message. And let me see here. She said multiple messages. I'll just read the last one. That she is going to be trying to become a second shooter this year for wedding photography, and realized when shooting weddings there was some skill set and knowledge that she lacked to be the main photographer. So hopefully she'll grow more in that area and work on her personal portfolio with other kind of photography shoots too. She's had bad luck in before and kept running into barriers, but thought our page was interesting.
That's good. And it's just about like continuing on, right? Like not stopping and not giving up when things get difficult. I'm really bad with acronyms. I just figured out like a month ago what SMH meant.
Shake my head.
I thought it was smack my head.
Or so much hate.
Oh, there's multiple meanings. No wonder
Maybe
I'm confused.
We both don't know. I'm really bad with this kind of stuff too. Like in middle school, I thought that the control key was the curdle key. I thought that loan shark was like a scary guy that was alone, not someone that offered you loans. I thought that curb appeal was curve appeal because the house was sexy from the outside. I thought that throw you under the bus was throw you under the bust, like whacha, right? Like here.
I used to think that happy belated birthday was happy delayed birthday because of the delay.
Yeah, we need to have an episode just all about our like misunderstandings.
Oh, well, we already are. This is recording.
Yeah. Maybe someone's like, oh crap, I thought the same thing. And then they're like, well, I'm not going to say that in public like I did in my grade 9 class. And I'm like, teacher, I'm so smart. The clicker on the mouse isn't working, so I'm just using the curdle key to copy and paste.
The curdle key.
And everyone was like,
I can't wait to use that for the rest of my life. Curdle turtle, the curdle key.
Welcome back to the PhotoCEO Podcast, where hosts Megan Mondrell and Fredrika Gullickson teach you how to build your photo business by listening to your intuition, taking empowered action, and embodying the PhotoCEO mindset.
Welcome back. We are here with another episode to talk about the first step to truly standing out in the photo industry. And it might surprise you that this one's going to be a little bit more woo-woo, I guess. That's, I think, the professional term of talking about your intuition. So we're going to talk about how your intuition is the thing that will help you separate yourself in the photo industry, especially when everybody else is really doing the same thing and kind of copying each other and blending in. So if intuition is a new kind of concept or word or, something, if it's new to you, we just kind of wanted to start with a bit of a definition of what that is. So intuition is simply, let me just pull up the actual definition. Intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning, or a thing that one knows or considers likely from instinctive feeling rather than from conscious reasoning. But basically, the simple way of putting it is it's the insight that you have when you're kind of alone in your thoughts. Or alone with like your thoughts, and then you get kind of like a gut feeling from an idea that you have or something that you want to try. And so that's kind of how I look at it, is intuition equals insight.
How would you recommend that someone train or grow their intuition so they can begin to trust themselves if this is something that they have never thought of or never felt like they've experienced before?
That's a great question. I actually have a really fun exercise that I used to do, and I learned this from a teacher of mine, a Reiki teacher who also taught intuition development, basically. And so she had us take a rock And on one side of the rock, you write the word yes. And on the other side of the rock, you write the word no. And you basically use it as like, I wouldn't call it like airy fairy, but you use it. You ask a question, say like, should I take this client? And you ask the question and you kind of roll the rock around in your hand and you open it up to see what your answer is. And it's not that you follow the answer of the rock. It's that when you look at the rock, your gut instinct is going to kick in and tell you this is right or this is wrong. And so if I want to work with a client really badly and I ask that question and I, leave it up to the rock in a sense, which don't do that. Like, yeah. You leave it up to the rock in terms of ask the question, what does the rock say? And then how do you feel immediately upon receiving that answer? And if you feel like you feel a sense of resentment or like, dang it, I really wanted to work with that client. Well, then that's your answer. Go work with that client. Or if it came up, yes, you should work with this client, but you get an icky feeling about that, then you know your answer there too. Like your gut instinct is going to kick in immediately without you having to try or do anything. The trick is that after you have that answer, you don't go into your overthinking mind and try to reason your way why you should do it if it doesn't feel good. And if we think about like an example that is related to growing or separating yourself in the industry versus taking a client, I could say, should I start editing my photos this way, even though nobody else is doing that? Yes or no? Look at the rock. What feeling do you get when you get your answer? And if it feels like the right move for you to start editing in a way that doesn't look like what anyone else is doing, but that you think, would make you happy and eventually relate to your clients, making them happy, then go ahead and do that, even though nobody else is really paving that road yet. I hope that makes sense. Megan, you can kind of tell me if it made sense or not.
100%. I think that it's it's a very large concept, I guess, in the sense of just following your heart or your gut instead of your brain. And I think that in saying that, lots of people would get caught up in their head and start thinking too much instead of just allowing them to like accept and feel that answer. And so by giving that tangible exercise for people to try, I think really offers great advice for sure.
Yeah. And I hope that it isn't too like out there for our audience. You just like have fun with it. Like this is the thing that I have to learn over and over again in my own life, is to not take everything so seriously. I like, even in developing these podcasts and outlining them and titling them, I look at things so seriously. And it's just a fun way to like inject some joy into your life and some wonder and really get in touch with that feeling sense in your body versus always just being stuck in your head about should I do this or should I do that? And then really feeling scared about making the wrong decision, which usually in my case turns into not making any decision and not doing anything that moves my business forward because I'm just straight up too scared to do it. And so the quicker that you can let that piece go and really just get into your feeling and then take action right away based on that feeling, the faster and further you'll go.
Yeah.
And you'll
absolutely.
have fun doing it too.
Exactly. No, I love that piece for sure. For me personally, I'm not like a huge follower of the personality types, but I am an Enneagram type 4, if I remember correctly. And so that means that I want to stand out and not do anything. Like I want to go against the grain, want to be my own person kind of thing. And so this was a little bit of an easier thing for me to grasp. It came a little bit more naturally. And I do think that that whole piece of going against the grain and following your own instincts and intuition definitely is what attributed me to being able to build my business so quickly, for sure.
That's true. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Were there any like key things that you did that kind of stood out against the crowd
Yeah.
that you feel helps separate you in terms of what you are offering your clients versus other photographers?
Yeah, so that like deep-seated need to stand out. A couple of things that I remember really reflecting on and making intentional decisions to walk the other way was photo editing. I know, like when I first started, and still a little bit to this day too, lots of people like to crush the blacks to give that very film feel. And I wanted to do the opposite because I liked the detail in the blacks and I didn't want to lose any of that. That's one like major change that I made, as well as lots of people like that yellow kind of hue on everything. And I wanted to go very natural still, but more of a blue hue, just going the opposite way completely. And I also never used a preset to build anything because I didn't want there to be any reminiscence of anyone else's style, basically. And another one that I took very seriously as far as doing something different than everyone else was my brand in the sense of the design and the voice, because I didn't want to follow that very like trendy, like burnt colors with lots of the like muted pinks and oranges and browns. I wanted it to stand out. So I took that very literally and I have an orange website, like bright orange website. And same thing with my verbiage. I didn't want to do like the typical, hey girl, fun girl kind of thing. I also didn't want to do the typical professional kind of thing. And so I decided to open my website by saying, what's up, chicken butt? So I am very hardcore in going the opposite and doing just something different than everyone else does. And as silly as it might sound, it works because I think that sometimes when people are trying to follow their intuition, they get afraid that people aren't going to like it.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be someone that doesn't like what you do. And I would much rather turn away people who aren't going to like me at the shoot because I say something that's like a poo joke than be in that situation where they're then in the session and they're like, did you just make a butt joke? And it's like, oh yeah, I did, sorry, So that was a big thing. And just the general success principle that 98% of people are going to do one thing and be more average, and 2% are going to do the opposite and exceed or excel. And so it's like, if everyone's doing one thing, is if you just turn around and go the other way, you're immediately going to set yourself apart, and you can assume that you're going to be on the better path, obviously with a grain of salt there. But yeah.
Yeah. The better path, as long as that path is also like what you actually want to be doing, right?
Exactly. And
And I think,
ethical and moral.
yes, yeah, definitely. That's really just encapsulates the whole idea behind this episode of what is everybody else doing, and do you want to be doing that, or do you want to do something that is true to you
Yeah.
and do that and go in the, even if that means going in the opposite direction, because just as Megan has told you just recently, like just now, like that has paid off a lot in her business. The fact that she was like, just trusted herself to go in the opposite direction, and just see what happens basically. And
Yeah.
it just brings that fresh perspective. It brings a fresh looking images. It feels more relatable in your case, Megan, of like talking to your clients in a certain way. I think that's great. And I think that you do a really good job of taking like your language and running it through your whole experience of how clients interact with you too.
Mm-hmm. And that builds a lot of trust as well, to have that consistency throughout.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that one thing that is hard for people is not getting caught up in copying too many things and feeling themselves doing that. So, what would your suggestions be, Ricky, for allowing people to still draw inspiration from other people, but know that they aren't copying them?
Oh, this is a great question. I, in my business, have developed a way to take pieces, like little bits and pieces that I like from multiple sources, like other photos, um, other ways of communicating, the way that websites are done, not just in like the photo industry, but in every industry. Anytime I come across like a website, for example, I look at it from a marketing perspective and I think, wow, I really like how they did this. How can I implement this in my business? And so I developed this system called signature style braiding that I trademarked. And it's basically that takes you through that process of like, if you don't necessarily know how to follow your intuition on what you should be doing or how you should be branding yourself or what kind of images you want to put out there in terms of editing or how you want to speak to your followers or clients, you look at the world around you and you piece together from everything that you're surrounded by, the things that you love most about what you're seeing, and you bring them together to create your own unique style. And so part of what we're going to be putting into our coaching is that process. It literally gives you the step-by-step process on how to go through and develop your own style using the world around you and also inspiring you to use your intuition at the same time, and really trusting it, because it doesn't, again, we go back to this whole message of everything that you're doing doesn't mean, or everything that you're thinking or wanting to do doesn't mean anything unless you're willing to trust it and take action on it and see where it goes bit by bit.
Yeah, I love that, especially because for me, I'm a little bit more of the opposite side of the spectrum where I will like think that so many different things are good ideas, and there will be like very I'm good with keeping like my brand voice consistent throughout, but in the design process, I'm like, oh, I like that. I like that. I like that. I should do this, this, this. And then it's just very all different from each other. And so what I really like about that concept is that you can still use your intuition when you're picking out things, and you can definitely add your own spin and flair to them. But when you're able to braid them together, such an awesome visual, you're really able to create that cohesive nature along with the consistency.
Yeah, for sure. And that just, it kind of goes into like creating your own brand DNA in a sense, right?
Yes.
Like if you think about braiding together all of those pieces that you love from anything that you see, it can be like a bus bench ad or, images on a website or a font on a business card or something. There's so much creativity surrounding us in our everyday lives, and all it takes is a little bit of like being conscious of what you're seeing and thinking about it in a way of like, oh, I really love that, and how can I use that when I'm building my business. So yeah, that's kind of my process of how I have developed my own brand DNA, I guess. And it's proven to be very effective and makes me feel really good because I know that I'm not copying anybody else. I know that I'm inspired by endless amounts of people and things, and I take what I love and I put it together in its own unique way.
Yeah. I think that another really important thing to mention here, which again, we will get into more in the coaching and in further episodes, is that in having a strong brand, it allows you to build on that and be able to outsource and build a team. And if you aren't able to have a good understanding of what your brand is, there's no way that you'll be able to communicate it to someone else to embody that same brand, whether it's voice, values, etc. So it really is the first step to creating a backbone for your business when you have that intuition to be able to really find pieces that embody your spirit and who you are, and to be able to transform that into a way that is both like visual and communicative to the rest of the world.
Yeah, definitely. I also really love using different podcasts for things and different like coaching programs, like
Mhm.
coaching programs that have absolutely nothing to do with photography or business. And I use those things so that I can learn to like for example, learn how to talk to people online or put together my own programs. And it has nothing to do with, again, copying what anyone else is doing. It's just about what are you most attracted to and how can you use it in a way that's authentic to you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just trust it and see where it goes. Because I guarantee if you start doing that, if you start looking at your world, what books are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to? What images are your favorite images on Instagram? What music are you listening to that you find really appealing?
Yeah.
What is your decor like? Like what kinds of things do you love in terms of decor and styling?
What
And
things make you cry? What make things make you happy? What things make you
yeah,
frustrated? All of that kind
exactly.
of
And
stuff.
you put it all together in a way that allows you to develop your own sense of style. Because at the end of the day, the quickest way to blending in this industry is to literally buy a preset and slap it on an image and send it
Yeah.
out into the world, and then use the same hashtags that everybody else is using.
Yeah. Buy
Um,
templates and use those templates exactly how they are, whether it's website, email, etc. I think that
exactly.
templates are a great tool and presets can be a great tool, but there is still, you can't use it as an easy out. You can
No,
use it as a frame, but you still be putting a lot of work into it, both in self-reflecting and in output of actually changing and creating something from it.
exactly. And that's a great point. Like there's nothing wrong with using presets. There's nothing wrong with using like website templates or anything like that, or email templates. um, it's just about putting your own spin on it,
Yeah.
and really dialing in what you think is the most attractive thing. And even
Mhm.
though it might look like you're trying to go against the grain and that scares you and you're going the opposite direction and nobody else has paved that path before, it can also be really fulfilling when people start responding to who you are in your own unique way
Yeah.
versus you really blending in with everybody else and what everybody else is doing or saying or how they're treating their clients. Like all of these things really need to be questioned. Anything that is status quo needs to be questioned. And that's something that I'm also really good at doing. No
Yeah.
matter what I'm like, if it's in photo business or in just personal life, if there's something that is status quo that I don't really jive with, I question it and I think, how can I do this better? Or how can I do this in a way that is my own?
And I think that that questioning piece is so important. I think that there's a lack of reflection in life, both in questioning why other people do what they do, but why you do what you do. Going back to that buying presets or templates, it's fine, but you have to reflect on why you're doing it. Are you doing it because it's easier? Or are you doing it because you think that that's a really great framework and you love that person's brand and how they treat people and you want to build on that? And the same goes for any other decision that you're making. Like, why are you investing in a certain type of camera? Why are you investing in a certain kind of course? Is it because you're looking for that magic pill because so and so did it, because you just want that easy out? Or is it because you are determined to fulfilling what you know your greater purpose is? I think that there's a lack of people knowing why they're doing what they're doing in general.
Yeah. And I think too, it's a process like anything. The more that you, like when you're starting out, you might be kind of more maybe on the line of copying what other people are doing just because you're not sure yet of what you want, or you're just doing what you think you should be doing. But over time, and this process really never ends, but over time you just keep questioning, keep discovering more of what you like and what you want to do, so that you keep going in the direction of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just it. It's a lifelong process, and it doesn't just have to do with photo business. um, but in a saturated industry, like there is a huge opportunity here for people to be really looking at how they can braid together all of their unique passions and things that they find attractive so that they can create their own unique sense of, this is who I am and this is what I'm offering. um, and yeah, and then just stand in that and you evolve. You like one thing that you're um attracted to one day and that you implement in your business might not jive with you in a year or two. So then you remove that piece and you just keep building and building and building and evolving over time.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the whole perfectionism. Go against perfectionism, because if you get stuck in that piece of wanting to make it perfect the first time, you're absolutely negating the fact that it's going to be a growth process and it's going to be ever evolving and ever changing.
Yeah. And not, letting go. Well, not even letting go. I think a lot of people, especially in like the personal development industry, and they all kind of talk about, I was fearless and I just did this, or like, just be fearless. And it's like, no, your fear will never go away. It's a neurobiological thing that is happening in your brain and in your body. Fear is a natural response to your outside world. And you can't eliminate fear, but what you can do is build a muscle and build a skill around moving through fear and really trusting yourself. Trusting yourself is a skill. Following your intuition is a skill. And I know that I said at the beginning, like it might sound a bit woo-woo, but this is like a straight up business tactic. And the more that you really dive into like building that skill and just getting curious, like that's all it takes. You just get curious about yourself and move in the direction of that, even though, and even when it doesn't look like anyone else will know exactly what you're doing or why. Because eventually they will, and it will draw in, especially in photo business, it will draw in the people that you want to work with most in your business. And you will have your own unique set of clients as well who really value what you're putting out there.
Exactly. I agree. And I love that you mentioned fear. And I'm very excited to talk more in depth on overcoming fear in a later podcast as well.
Yeah, we'll be covering that in a couple weeks. And we're really excited to get into that topic at that time. I think for now, this kind of wraps up this episode, unless you have anything else to add.
No, I think that's it. Unless anyone, I think that's a great opportunity for people to know that they can either direct message or email us any questions regarding to fear or any specific blockages or barriers they felt in their business where fear has crept up and stopped them.
Yeah. And that's huge, actually. I know in my own life, fear has stopped me from doing so much stuff, and it has really, really prevented me from building my business as quickly as possible. And so now that I'm at a place where I know that and I know how to move through fear quickly, all I want to do is help other people do the same thing, because it is so vital in terms of living a fulfilling life, whether that's through your photo career or just your life in general. But yeah, if we just like wrap this up with like bringing it back to intuitive, like developing your intuitive sense, following your curiosity, and you just pick and choose as you go. Does this feel right? Does this not feel right? And just move in the direction of what feels right for you. Thanks for listening to the PhotoCEO Podcast with your hosts, Frederica and Megan. We hope you enjoyed your deep dive into these tips and tricks on how to transform from photographer to PhotoCEO. If you liked this episode and want to learn more, we are hosting a free PhotoCEO Masterclass on May 3rd, 2021. We will be giving you tons of powerful and heart-centered content that will help you book more clients, get your time back, and claim the freedom that you've been seeking in your photo business. If you want to kickstart your journey as a photo CEO, go to photobusinessdesign.com/masterclass to sign up. That's photobusinessdesign.com/masterclass. We look forward to seeing you there, and until next time, have a great week in your photo business.